The Seneca Nation says gas prices jumped about 60 cents per gallon over a recent 2-day period. Officials say their stations buy fuel more often because of high demand. They say that can cause prices to change faster than at other retailers, both up and down. Federal and state taxes do not apply on sovereign territory, which often makes their gas at these stations cheaper than others. Drivers we spoke with had mixed reactions to those prices.
The reservation is supposed to be cheaper, but no way, man. It's breaking our pockets. We need help out here.
They went from low to high. This was the best gas station we had, for a good price. Then we went from $2-something to $4 now, but, it is what it is.
So I usually come here to get cheaper gas, and, it's not worth it now. It's high everywhere.
Some drivers say they are starting to look at their budgets differently because of these gas prices that we're seeing, while others say they'll pay whatever it takes to get to where they need to go. Throughout the city, we found prices from $4.19 to $4.79 a gallon. This is just a few prices, with some stations matching the $4.39 price at this location on Perry Street in Buffalo. The Seneca Nation says they're doing their best to manage current price fluctuations, and they will keep an eye on prices as they buy gas to make sure their customers are getting the best value. On your side, Courtney Courtwright, Channel 2 News.
All I'll say to Mr. Holman is that Donald Trump himself said he would not send a surge of ICE agents to the state of New York unless I ask. I'm not asking.
That's Governor Kathy Hochul reacting to White House border czar Tom Homan, who threatened to, quote, flood the zone if states pass laws limiting what law enforcement officers can do when it comes to working with ICE agents. Earlier this year, Governor Hochul introduced legislation which keeps immigration authorities out of sensitive locations, non-public areas of places like schools and libraries without a warrant, protects interactions with public employees, prohibits law enforcement from covering their faces with masks to conceal their identities, protects every student's right to a free public education regardless of immigration status, and builds on her Local Cops, Local Crimes Act to ensure local law enforcement is focused on fighting local crime. That part would ban state and local law enforcement from coordinating with federal officials on non-criminal violations like minor traffic tickets. Immigration attorney Jennifer Boehm told us this could have a big impact on people going through the immigration process legally.
I think that supporters of the legislation are arguing that local police should focus on local crimes, and immigrant communities are safer when people trust law enforcement. On the flip side of that, there's also an argument to be made that a reduction in coordination between agencies can drive further tension in communities.
Boehm says it's important to note that the proposed legislation does not entirely eliminate communication or cooperation with federal law enforcement.
The legislation still allows for cooperation involving serious criminal investigations or public safety threats that would, really have an impact on the community.
We're told the entire process should take a year, but most of what you've known as the stadium should be gone by Halloween or Thanksgiving at the latest. There will be no implosion with carefully timed explosives. The job will be done with heavy equipment and cutting torches. A section of the northwest corner of the stadium was the first to go, opening a gaping hole where, after steel beams and other structural material is removed, they'll construct a road down into the bowl for more equipment to enter. There was no shortage of shutterbugs who stopped by to take it all in. Eric Matweel marveled at the spectacle.
It just seemed like with the heavy machinery here, boy, they really went to town. Oh my God, some of them, the claws on there, the hydraulics is just wow, it's amazing.
50-something years, and now it's just coming to an end, for sure now. It's definitely coming to an end. Yeah, so quite sad.
With the West End suites removed, Mike Ryan pointed out to us that this was the first time he could ever see his seats in Section 207 from outside the stadium. He thought about buying them when he had the chance.
I have a deck, and I thought about putting the seats on the back deck, but I'm like, I can live without them.
The chance gone, much like the stadium will be. And with plans to pulverize the concrete stands on site, there may be nary a scrap left for souvenir hunters. On your side, in Orchard Park, Dave McKinley, Channel 2 News.
Results show homelessness increased based on a January point in time or PIT count.
It's a 24% increase of individuals experiencing homelessness.
The annual count identified 2,188 people experiencing homelessness across Erie, Niagara, Orleans, Genesee, and Wyoming counties.
The face of homelessness is just people like me and you.
51% single adults, 49% family households, children under 18 accounted for 31%. And you see signs of it when you exit the Kensington Expressway into downtown Buffalo.
The three primary causes that people are self-reporting of what is their cause of entering homelessness. Number one is eviction. Number two is loss of employment and loss of income. And number three is domestic violence.
She calls it an affordable housing crisis.
We don't have enough affordable housing in not only the city of Buffalo, but Erie County and Western New York as a whole.
People are staying longer in shelters. On average, people stayed 71 days in 2024. Last year, 92 days.
Couch surfing. How often do you hear it, see it?
Quite often, especially among youth, so those under 24, it's really common.
Homelessness and food disparities also correlate.
I mean, well, just think about it. No house, no stove. And if you are struggling with housing insecurity, food goes right along with it.
And even in rural communities, they've seen a spike.
Specifically, families experiencing chronic homelessness, and it's going to look a lot different in rural areas versus city areas due to access to resources.
Buffalo Deputy Mayor Thomas Baines says Harry Stinson was given 90 days to provide evidence of financial backing for the Buffalo Grand Hotel. Stinson was unable to meet the deadline. He says his financing fell through late last week. The future of the property is now in the court's hands, with abandonment proceedings underway. City officials hope to find a new investor to take over the property.
Having this asset remain unused and deteriorating is not something that we can afford to do moving forward. So our goal is to have this building active, functioning, so that we can ultimately have a better downtown.
Deputy Mayor Baines and Stinson met on Monday. Stinson says he's not giving up on his goal of bringing the hotel back to life.
The mayor's office has been responsive. They have said all along, if you can demonstrate you have the financing, we'll work with you. We're trying.
Buffalo Common Councilman Mitch Nowakowski describes the vacant property as an eyesore. He says more hotel rooms are needed in downtown Buffalo.
The Office of Strategic Planning is working on a market analysis of what does this look like, what can we do to get up to productive use, who are potential buyers, but we can't do any of that until the court rules.
2 weeks ago, I sat down with Mayor Ryan to talk about the budget, and that conversation included some things I've lobbied for at meetings and press conferences for quite some time.
What does your budget do for snacks at meetings and things like that? I've been pleading about this, like just a little something.
We're trying to really work on a snack budget for you, Nate. It might have to come from, we have to start passing the hat.
Jokes aside, the whole interview can be seen on an episode of On the Agenda right now on the free WGRZ app. One of the key aspects of Mayor Ryan's budget proposal is new revenue. And one of the ways to generate new revenue is, according to the mayor, collecting old revenue.
Of all the parking tickets issued in Buffalo over the last few years, only 7% paid. So there's this great pool of money out there of people who owe back taxes, back water bills, contracts with the city that they never paid on.
The Ryan administration believes there's as much as $100 million that has not been collected and remains outstanding.
Word got out that the city's not enforcing their tax bills, so a lot of professional landlords, they just stopped paying their taxes to the city of Buffalo.
The mayor says they'll be initiating a foreclosure auction this year, but also wants to collect more than $20 million in fines and fees next fiscal year. One of those line items in the budget is $6.2 million for prior year collections. During a budget workshop last Thursday, Finance Commissioner Jessica Brown outlined how far back the administration wants to go in order to collect those unpaid fines and fees, and council members were, well, listen for yourself.
Absolutely not. I can't support that. So you're going to suspend these individuals who, because it's likely going to be poor individuals who are already facing a 25.8% tax increase, who are already having services cut in some way, shape, or form. who are already having user fee increases, and then we're going to say, oh, by the way, 8 years ago you didn't pay this ticket, so now we're going to collect it. And if you don't do it today, then we're going to suspend your registration.
Regarding any collection of fines stemming from parking violations that could result in suspended registrations, Commissioner Brown did outline that at least 60 days worth of notices would be sent out prior to a suspension. So if someone hasn't paid a fine in years, they'd have a chance to rectify it. Council members, however, were still not thrilled about the idea of going back that far.
That's not. It's a money grab, and I don't like it.
It's not even, it is a money grab, but it is also going to impact Black and brown communities the most. Like, let's be honest. And that's not okay.
Council members suggested that the administration go back to the drawing board and perhaps consider only collecting a year or two's worth of fines, saying that
it's our fault that we didn't do it. You can't punish them for something that the city of Buffalo, regardless of who's sitting in seats now, did not do.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Commissioner Shields says expanding specialized training for officers, doing ride-alongs to see conditions in the field, and improving communication with the public will all help strengthen how this department functions. She's tapped former interim commissioner Craig Macy as her first deputy commissioner of operations, overseeing patrol and specialized units. Shields also emphasized the importance of getting to know rank-and-file officers as she steps into this role, along with continuing discussions with the Buffalo Police Union president. All of this comes as she looks to address staffing and recruitment needs, an issue the police union says is urgent. The union says the department is operating with about 719 officers. That's roughly 100 below its authorized level. That shortage could be felt as the city heads into a busy summer season of events across Buffalo requiring large police presence.
The police union has also expressed concerns about staffing shortages, obviously heading into a very busy summer season. Any plans to address that?
Yes, certainly. And that's, I think that the police department is experiencing what most agencies across the U.S. are, and that is there is a shortage of officers, a shortage of applicants. And so I think that this is something that I'll be working closely with my commissioners, the deputy mayor, to try to figure out what is the best way. We've got to come up with a recruitment and hiring platform.
City officials say contract negotiations for police and other city unions will be addressed after final action on the city budget later this month. Until then, Commissioner Shields says she plans to continue meeting with those rank-and-file officers and leaders inside of the department. On your side, Alyssa Quazell, Channel 2 News.
If you steal from the American taxpayer, the Department of Justice and our law enforcement partners will do everything possible to award you free housing in a federal prison.
From the Justice Department in Washington, a warning about a new prosecutor priority with the National Fraud Enforcement Division. And while there may be political debate over the motivation of an effort tied to the White House and Vice President, the Western New York U.S. Attorney says there's a clear purpose.
This administration is very focused on making sure that taxpayer dollars are utilized in the manner of which they are to be utilized.
With types of fraud cases involving identity theft, misuse of government benefit programs, healthcare, business, elder and COVID assistance funding, and even romance or dating fraud, there's tons of it out there, and it's harder to investigate and prosecute and go after what is stolen to later compensate financial victims.
The fraudsters have become more sophisticated as time has evolved. It's no longer just subpoenaing bank records from a local institution. Now, the more sophisticated ones, especially the ones that operate overseas, they're using cryptocurrency, which makes it a little bit more difficult to track.
So Giacomo says they're gearing up with this new coordinated anti-fraud program, more resources to bring in cyber experts and forensic accountants to go after anyone, from doctors who purposely overbill Medicare for medical procedures.
You know, healthcare fraud, it's an honor system if you think about it.
To someone abusing the SNAP system for food nutrition.
Designed to work with those that provide and oversee those federal benefits.
Or someone who cheated on those PPP loans for businesses during the pandemic.
Did an individual submit fraudulent documents representing that they utilized those funds in the manner of which the program was requiring?
So now, this concentrated, coordinated approach.
Make it easier and more efficient for us to go after people who basically defraud taxpayers.
On your side, Ron Plants, Channel 2 News.
John Walker will tell you.
They can never give me back what they took from me. They can never make me whole again.
Walker was one of 5 Buffalo men accused for a 1976 murder on Fillmore Avenue. Most were convicted. A jury awarded Walker $28 million for wrongful conviction. I spoke with the Erie County attorney on where the payout stands.
We've reached an agreement with plaintiff that we can settle the matter for $21 million.
The request has been submitted to the Erie County Legislature for approval. Today, it was mentioned at the Finance Committee meeting.
If the legislature approves the $21 million and then a few other sort of clerical items have to be taken care of, then yes, the county will have settled with Mr. Walker for $21 million.
This news comes after the prosecutor in the case, who later became a judge, Timothy Drury, told Channel 2 the county had bad legal representation and should not settle.
I testified that justice was done, and these people were duly and properly convicted. But I wasn't being helped at all by my lawyers.
Walker has always maintained the prosecutor was at fault for the wrongful conviction.
The person that really did all of this too was Timothy Drury. He was the DA in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
He did it all to us, and then he became the head judge down there while I was trying to fight. So every time I would put paperwork in to try to get in court, him as the head judge, he would cut it. He wouldn't let my paperwork go nowhere.
His attorney also chimed in on the prosecutor at the original trial.
The argument that was made in John Walker's trial in order to answer the problem that the story that the star witness was telling didn't make sense, the prosecutor argued that this is the way 16-year-old black kids plan. Black kids. That's the argument they made to an all-white jury. And the prosecutor in that case, who testified at the trial, said that was okay. It was consistent with the policies and practices of the office.
But in the end, while battling cancer, Walker stands to get financial justice for his wrongful incarceration.
Hantavirus can cause severe respiratory disease, and early symptoms can look like the flu.
If you have a wind or other things, it can aerosolize the virus, and then you breathe it in and you get sick.
Doctors think the first person to die in this outbreak got sick at a bird-watching excursion at a landfill in Argentina. He ended up spreading it to his wife, who also died. Dr. John Crane is a professor of medicine with the Division of Infectious Diseases at the UB Jacobs School and says this version of the virus is only infectious person to person after symptoms start.
Fever, body aches, cough, shortness of breath, things like that. Whereas COVID-19 begins to be infectious for a couple of days before any symptoms appear. And that's why it got the jump on us so quickly when it appeared back in 2020.
According to the World Health Organization, the fatality rate from this strain can be up to 50%. And there is no hantavirus vaccine or antiviral drug.
The treatment is supportive care, which mostly is oxygen and possibly being placed on a ventilator because it causes a severe lung involvement. It can also cause the cardiovascular system to collapse, so then you need support for your blood pressure.
Dr. Crane says you should keep an eye on what's happening with this outbreak.
Don't panic. I think the chances that this virus causes a much bigger outbreak are pretty slim because of the different characteristics of the virus. One advantage, we also know more about this virus because it's been identified previously, as opposed to COVID, where everything was brand new.
New York's junior Senator Kirsten Gillibrand has long pushed for the release of the information, saying that over the years there's been too many sightings and too many questions that need answers.
What are these UAPs? Are they drones? Are they adversaries? Or is it other? But we need to know.
And in a statement today, she said, transparency is the only path to truth. I'm encouraged the administration heard my call and the call of millions of Americans to unseal these files. This is an important step, but there is much more work to do.
I've got a whole group of people in New York State that I'm sure are poring over this right now.
John Lombardo of Buffalo is the New York State director of the Mutual UFO Network. He says much of what they've seen so far they already knew, and believes if there's anything really juicy about confirmed alien contacts or the recovery of spaceships, you're probably not going to find it in these files now released by the government.
I would be highly suspicious if they would give that up.
There are thousands of pages of investigations since just after World War II and assessments like that of a Midwest doctor who, in the midst of a polio outbreak in the 50s, tried to warn officials they occurred near recent sightings and could be evidence of radiation poisoning from spaceships. His colleagues dismissed it as laughable. But we were really curious about Buffalo.
Back now in Most Buffalo, and did anybody out there see that unusual sight last night in the sky? It was like a string of lights.
We could not have been immune to reports over all these years, but it is like finding a needle in a haystack. The website where all this is contained is not searchable by city name, and ChatGTP was of no assistance. But with a couple of hours, which is all the time we had, some strong coffee, and frankly some dumb luck, we did find some. One where the FBI in Buffalo was called by Elmira police to investigate a recovered flying saucer, which turned out to be a box painted aluminum with a radio tube attached to the center. And this correspondence from a man who about 75 years ago lived in a home on Prospect Street, which is no longer there, advising the FBI he could help them understand the propulsion system and design of UFOs, warning the Russians want to get this, rest assured, and saying he contacted agents here because I do not know who is a commie in Washington and who is not.
At Bread Hive Bakery, the smell of fresh bread is more than just inviting. It's the result of a process that's taken years to perfect.
Our sourdough starter is now 12 years old, and we make it into a levain, and then we have to make everything a couple days ahead. So it's a 3-day process to make our product.
And it all starts with that one very special ingredient that the team treats like family.
So we call our starter Mama, and we feed her every day with some flour and water.
Inside the cafe, you'll find everything from bagels and pretzels to fresh bread and pastries, as well as hearty breakfast and lunch sandwiches.
I think our most popular breakfast sandwich is our Aliyah, where you can get eggs and our homemade sausage and cheddar on a bagel or pretzel. We love naming them after famous singers like the Britney and the Rihanna, and it's just really fun.
This weekend, Bread Hive is also celebrating its return to the Elmwood Bidwell Farmers Market with special treats for Mom.
We're going to have some strawberry pistachio pies and some brownie trays and lots of little treats for Mother's Day.
They're also leaning into the Sabres playoff excitement, offering something perfect for game day.
We have a super large pretzel that is this big that you can order ahead, and it will come with different dips. We have a maple mustard dip that you can get with it, or dill pickle dip.
As a worker-owner cooperative, the bakery's team says 10 years of growth comes from doing the work together.
We have 11 worker owners now, and I think just all of us working together so well as a team has really made this place, it's a great place to work.
And a decade in, Bread Hive is still taking things one batch and one bake at a time.
We're so happy to keep growing, and hopefully we can continue to grow for another 10 years.